Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Speak, Film, and Enter, a podcast where we review and rank movies. I'm Nate.
And I'm Dylan.
And I'm Adam.
Today, we are reviewing the latest from Wes Anderson. It's a little buzzy, for sure.
Yeah.
It's being talked about, lots of online videos discussing the ending. We are not going to be discussing that today. This is a spoiler-free review, but It's always a big event here and for movie lovers everywhere when a new Wes Anderson movie comes out. And this one has probably his most stacked cast ever. I feel pretty safe saying that.
That's a
tall
tough
order.
That's a really tall order.
It's like his whole usual crew plus like Tom Hanks and Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
You got a point.
The usual suspects.
Steve Carell.
With a couple extra flavors thrown in.
With a few more A-listers, basically.
No Bill Murray, though.
Yeah, I think he missed out on filming because of COVID, it sounds like. I wonder if that's the role that Tom Hanks took.
I would assume so.
That would, yeah.
I don't know for sure, but that seems like a possibility. But anyway, before we get too far along, Adam, would you like to tell the people what Asteroid City is about, to the best of your ability, because we still don't even really know?
Yeah. Following a writer on his world-famous fictional play about a grieving father who travels with his tech-obsessed family to a small rural asteroid city to compete in a junior stargazing event, only to have his worldview disrupted forever. That's such a weird sentence.
Following it's also not really what it's about.
Famous fictional play.
Yeah.
But also it is, kudos to anyone who has to write the plot summary for Asteroid City, because it is kind of weird and meta on a lot of levels. So how do you incorporate that, in with, I'm sorry, Nate just got disconnected. I lost my train of thought.
Like it.
Yeah, it's all right. He'll come back. I'm also trying to stay as centered as possible in the frame, out of respect for Wes Anderson. Right, exactly. But with a Wes Anderson movie, you kind of know what you're getting. You're getting the symmetry in the cast and the kind of subdued delivery, kind of those trademark things. And it's interesting because I don't know about you, but for me, maybe this is just because it's the first new Wes Anderson movie I've seen in a while. I was in a packed theater. It took me a little bit at the beginning to kind of get back in, like get into it, like his groove. It took me a while to get into it. For the first like 10-15 minutes, I kept being like, oh yeah, all the actors are doing it like Wes Anderson style. And then eventually I kind of lost that. How about you?
No, I feel like, I've seen a couple of things on like Instagram or TikTok of people like imitating Wes Anderson style. There's like a little song that goes with it.
Oh yeah.
And so like a lot of that, and I've seen a lot of those just of like different
things.
Have I. Yeah. And so like I was kind of ready for it. I also haven't seen much Wes Anderson, so I know that this is the only thing that like I expect from him. So I wasn't like as thrown out of it. I know that's kind of a weird way to say that, but
yeah,
this is fully what I was expecting it to be, like quirky and weird. And then like the initial like opening scenes when they drive up to the rest stop and stuff, just trying to take in every little bit. Like, is there like writing in the background of the diner?
And of course
and,
there
like,
is
all that kind of stuff,
all the prices and it's the attention to detail, I guess. And I like that aesthetic. I guess for me, it was just, maybe it's been a while since I've seen, really a while since I've seen a live action Wes Anderson movie in theaters. I saw Isle of Dogs and I saw Fantastic Mr. Fox, but I'm pretty sure Moonrise Kingdom, Tannenbaums, were all like Steve Zissou. They were all just like on the small screen. And it was with a packed theater. So that was also interesting for me. I'd never seen a Wes Anderson movie with a packed theater, like opening night, like full of Wes Anderson fans.
Yeah.
But no, I like the aesthetic and I definitely got into the groove of it and then like totally forgot of it. But I just think it was, for me at least, it was a little bit like jumping into like a cold pool just right at the beginning. I was like, like everything, like the detail and the this and the like. I was like, okay. But then and maybe it's to your point, like all the YouTube parody videos, even like AI created, like Wes Anderson doing Pulp Fiction, Wes Anderson, right? It's kind of maybe created a different idea of his aesthetic in my head, but but after that I was going. And also very interesting kind of structure that the movie takes place on right away, which might throw some people off.
Yeah, I would say that with Wes Anderson, yes, you may know what you're getting into, but it is a little bit different every time. It is like you're saying, like jumping into a cold pool where it's it's always this certain style, but you're never quite sure. Like it's so different than any other movie you see, right? Like there's not another.
Yeah,
There's
that's
not
my
another director.
and it's been a while, years, for me. And Nate, now that you're back, I guess I was just saying that the rest of the movie, I think we all really liked, but for me at least, getting back into the Wes Anderson aesthetic and just kind of how jarring and like how Wes Anderson-ish all of his movies are. It's just undeniable from the first screen, like every detail and everything. It took me like 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning to kind of get into the movie. I don't know about you.
Yeah. Like what other director has like that's like
that
much
of a
style? Like besides like I'd say like Tim Burton has like a specific thing that you're getting when you go to a Tim Burton movie, but
Burton, Tarantino.
Yeah.
I think
like this is so much more of like every tiny aspect of the movie is Wes Anderson, not just this has a little flavor of that,
Yeah, we all saw this together, but I did not sit with you guys. And
very Wes Anderson-ish thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a girl next to me who's like in high school or something, and like 5 minutes into the movie, she just goes like audibly, I think this is directed by Wes Anderson. And
wow,
I had no idea.
Just not knowing surprised me at first, but then I was kind of torn between like good job and duh. Like I don't know how many movies this girl watches, so like if she watches like 3 movies a year, like that tells you just how distinct the style is, because even people who don't watch that many movies can recognize a Wes Anderson movie, and kind of how you mentioned that they all kind of look the same, but it's sort of what he does with it. And there are a lot of similar themes throughout all of his movies, but for me, at least, Asteroid City kind of went in a different direction while being very familiar at the same time. It's kind of, I mean, you talked about the structure of it, which I think for the most part enhances the story. I do think some parts that felt a little fussy, like mostly like the title cards to me felt a little bit annoying, but there's because it kept I don't know, it felt unnecessary to me, but it also is there to constantly remind you that we're watching a work of fiction. You know, like it never lets the audience forget that the main part of the story isn't real. I mean, obviously none of it is, but it's constantly reminding us that the main part of the story is like further down the rabbit hole than some other parts of the story.
Yeah.
And I found that very effective. I think that's where a lot of the connection to this movie comes from for a lot of people, and the people who have found it very profound and insightful. Like, I think that's why, because that story within a like kind of play within a play within like a TV special structure to it really resonates with some people. And I also think it's kind of going to not work for certain people as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's kind of it's like it's a movie that's about a movie, or like a movie, it's a movie that's about a play or about and
like a retelling of this.
Yeah, and there's every year there's films, some years more than others, that come out kind of Hollywood or about writing or anything like that. And it's interesting because I didn't really know that going in, and from the trailers it really doesn't hint, I don't think at all, that's kind of what this is. It portrays the whole thing as a straightforward comedy drama taking place in Wes Anderson's world, but then you get to the theater and immediately he's like, actually, I'm going to tell you about the background of this, and I'm going to show you the writer thinking of it, and I'm going to have like a host, Bryan Cranston, and then you'll get to go to Asteroid City. So right away, he's kind of taking a very different approach, I feel like, than his other films.
I mean, it's similar-ish to The French Dispatch, where, we're kind of the authors of those pieces are they're narrating and taking us into the stories that they wrote. So that has kind of that nesting structure. Grand Budapest Hotel is like the main story is like 4 levels removed from where we start. So he's been doing that a little more frequently in kind of the second half of his career.
Okay.
Definitely not something he was doing as much earlier, although I do find it is fun to kind of watch this with Rushmore, with the Jason Schwartzman being the lead and kind of how his character is like a playwright. There is a bit of a through line there, but yeah, this kind of, to me, this was more about like storytelling than necessarily like movie making.
Yeah.
Small distinction there for some people, but because it is about they tell you it's a play, but you watch the whole thing as like a cinematic experience.
Yeah, so that's why I keep saying movie, because it is like that. But yeah, it's a play that you're watching,
and you're watching like a rehearsal, like not even a like live performance. Which I couldn't tell. I did see this twice, and I feel like there's a moment where Scarlett Johansson's character actually breaks character within the Asteroid City performance part of it.
Okay.
With the quickie griddle, because there's like the character burns his hand and she says like, "Oh, you actually did it." And I thought the second time I watched it that was maybe her breaking character slightly, because he like does, and clearly that's not supposed to happen when you're on stage.
Yeah,
like you're not supposed to be burning your hand every single night over and over and over again. But for the most part, I don't know. I found a lot of so seeing this twice.
Yeah, I thought I've only seen it once. You both have seen it twice?
No, I've only seen it once.
Just me. Because like every Wes Anderson movie, it gets funnier, and they're because there's so many visual gags and so many characters, and the dialogue moves at 1,000,000 miles an hour that you just can't possibly pick up on everything. The first time you watch it, and I particularly didn't really pick up on. There are a couple moments toward the end of the movie that I think people are going to be discussing a lot. The first one sort of brings back a character that was in the credits, but then isn't in the movie until the very end. I don't really want to spoil that. And then the second one is like a bunch of characters saying a line at like some type of performance exercise.
Yeah.
Like brainstorming exercise, like into the camera, basically. And that's very, I mean, you'll know it when you see it, and anybody who's seen it knows what I'm talking about. And it's kind of abrupt, and it's really in your face, and it's going to make you think about what that means. And both of those scenes are. And I don't fully have my head wrapped around it yet. It's still a little elusive to me, but I say that as kind of a positive, where I don't think there's necessarily, I don't think there's one answer to that. I think it's designed in a way that's ambiguous enough to be able to affect a lot of people and for everybody to have their own fair interpretation on it. I saw an interview with a bunch of cast members where they asked them what that line means, and they all gave different answers. I'm sure Wes Anderson has his own answer, but I also think this is the kind of movie that I don't think he wants everybody to have the same answer. I think that's kind of a big point of that line, and why it feels a little bit elusive to me. Like I can reach out and like almost grab it.
A well-executed, ambiguous ending is hard to pull off.
Well,
and I think he does it here.
We kind of had that discussion after we went and saw this together. We walked out and we're like, I'm not 100% sure what the main theme was, but like I think I have a couple kind of bumping around in my head. Like,
I mean,
do you think it was about this? Do you think it was about that? Like, I think this was like a little bit of like a COVID movie. I think some of that stuff is around that. There's a lot of philosophy that goes on in this movie that like I feel like isn't always there in his.
A lot of films. Religion versus science.
Yeah. And the fact that this line that we're talking about, or this scene that we're talking about, has so many interpretations, I think is, to me, like as if we're going with the COVID analogy, like everyone experienced that a little bit differently. So it's going to hit you a little bit differently, and it's going to mean different things to different people.
Yeah, I mean, when we walked out, me and Nate immediately had different takes on what we thought it meant.
The parking lot conversation was longer than normal and could have gone on for hours, probably.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because after we talked about the movie and then we finally had to go our separate ways. We were on your side. You were parked on the side we were already on, so I had a longer walk to my car. And I'm not kidding. I passed 3 different groups of people talking about the movie, just standing by their cars talking about the movie.
Fantastic.
So it definitely left people thinking. It is. It's a good thing.
So Couple questions for you guys, I guess. Where does this rank for you for Wes Anderson movies? This is more for Dylan because Adam isn't.
I'm not
familiar.
as well versed.
Yeah,
I haven't seen as many. So,
I was gonna say, even before we get into specific questions, before we forget, I did want to say that the comedy is sharp.
Yes, the comedy is good.
Let's just give the respect where it's due. The comedy is sharp. It's always sharp, but it seems even a little sharper than usual. Some really good ongoing bits and gags. Some really, really well executed like side characters that just do like one funny thing. But like there's these three little girls that are running around, and they are just so well utilized. Like.
Those three little witches, basically, as they think they are one of Wes Anderson's greatest creations. I want an entire movie about those three, like 6-year-old triplets or 5-year-old, however old they are. They are so funny. When the first time they meet Tom Hanks's character is one of the funniest things he's ever written.
Yeah.
And oh my God, they're fantastic. They did give me a little bit of like Macbeth vibes.
Yeah.
With the line at the end of life is full of, what is it, like sound and fury signifying nothing. Something like
that whole
like
thing.
That whole part of it, I feel like you can tie that into this story very well. But oh my God, those three girls looking at Tom Hanks and saying, "Who's this old man?" is just gold. Comedy gold.
And the way they bounce off each other, the quick line delivery. I mean, I don't know how long it took to get them to pull that off. Like you're at that age and you have to get someone that age to do like the Wes Anderson thing. Like and get it and like why it works. And they were just on top of the timing. Like by the time you were laughing at what one said, another one was saying something like even funnier. Like,
and you might miss it because you're laughing already. Like the dialogue in his movies is almost like music. Where like it kind of layers on top of itself and it has to flow in a certain way. Like everybody has to hit their mark for the next line to work the way it's supposed to. So there's not a lot of room for like improvising or kind of like, maybe I'll say this line a little bit differently. Like you can't really, because it's music essentially.
It's very. I definitely had that thought when I was watching Jeffrey Wright give one of his kind of monologues, because it was like
amazing.
He nails, like you said, the musicality of the Wes Anderson delivery and just him just telling his like life story quickly and the way he bounces around, but always keeps it in that same like tenor and like delivery and just I don't know, like he just nails that. Like he was
that's
so
all one take.
Yeah, he was so good in this.
Yeah.
There's
everybody brought it,
and just like
and that's almost one of the like I hesitate to call it like a negative, but there are so many good characters and the movie's just an hour and 40 minutes long that I could have spent like 3 hours with this movie just because like Maya Hawke and Rupert Friend's characters have really fun chemistry and it's fun to spend time with them, and we don't get that much of it. We get an amazing musical sequence, by the way, which had the entire theater laughing.
Yes.
I'm glad you brought up the humor. It's just really funny, and then all the interplay between Jason Schwartzman and Scarlett Johansson, Tom Hanks with the three girls, the other parents kind of just constantly bickering, the five teenagers.
Only get snippets of them.
Yeah,
they're all like massive actors.
Tilda Swinton's character.
Oh yeah,
Dr. Hickenlooper.
The kids are great.
Yeah,
everybody.
Steve Carell's
even Steve Carell just poking around, offering people tomato juice,
just like capitalism personified. We sell little bits of land out of this vending machine,
and then we have to explain how it works, of course. But there'll be a joke at the end.
It'll be like way over the top and convoluted, and
to circle, and also that's another guy, Steve Carell. He understood the assignment. He knew the Wes Anderson like aesthetic. He just eased right into that like a nice cozy sweater.
Tom Hanks was really good too. That was interesting. He should be in every Wes Anderson movie from now on.
Yeah, the Tom Hanks was very interesting. At first, like when I first saw him, I was like, "Ooh, okay, like here we go. Let's see if this works." Pulled it off. To circle back around to what you said, where it ranks, I'd put it up there. I'm not counting the animated ones. For me, I'd put it up there with Moonrise Kingdom and probably Budapest Hotel. I haven't seen Rushmore, and I haven't seen Tenenbaums since I was like in high school, so I need to.
Those are like the two favorites
re-examine that
amongst like Gen Xers.
I totally believe that. Yep.
Yeah. So why are you excluding the animated movies?
I don't know. I guess if I include the animated movies, then I still think I don't like it as much as Fantastic Mr. Fox. I think I like it a little bit more than Isle of Dogs.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's in that like 4 or 5 range for me, behind Budapest, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and Moonrise Kingdom, and it's like right there 4 or 5 range with Rushmore.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the man is nothing if not consistent.
Yeah, I don't think he hasn't made a bad movie in my opinion.
We haven't seen Bottle Rocket, but maybe that'll be
that's the only one of his I haven't seen. I need to get to it
soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do I. Yeah. Was there another point or
questions you got?
Yeah.
I was going to ask if you could pick one actor, dead or alive, who has not been in a Wes Anderson movie. Who would you like to see fire off this stylized dialogue?
Marlon Brando.
That's a good one. I had
so weird.
It would be. That would be very strange. I was also going to go old school. I was going to say Orson Welles, because I just think he's so big and gregarious, and just like he's so big that seeing him have to like fit into a Wes Anderson movie, I think would be fascinating.
That makes me think of like Andre the Giant too. Like that'd be
like his personality, like everything, like his facial expressions. He's so intense. I feel like usually, and I wanted to pick one like old school.
Okay,
I think my real answer.
Go ahead.
My real answer is Gene Wilder.
That's pretty good.
I think that'd be.
Damn, I like that answer a lot. Yeah, that's really
good.
I
bet he would be really excellent.
Yeah,
just quirky enough, just weird enough, but great. Like,
yeah, for living, I'd really like to see Allison Janney.
Okay,
she hasn't been in a
Wes Anderson movie.
Okay,
and then I think Cary Grant in a Wes Anderson movie would have been amazing. I was thinking about those like screwball comedies he did, like His Girl Friday, with that like rapid back and forth.
Yeah, and the dialogue, Something in Lace.
Arsenic and Old Lace.
Yeah.
He's also really like surprisingly funny in North by Northwest, which is not a comedy, but like when there is, he nails it.
And to that point, I'm sure that Audrey Hepburn would also probably kill it in a Wes Anderson movie.
Probably
the way that Wes Anderson uses Scarlett Johansson, he could use like
he get a lot out of that, like mileage there.
Those are all very good ones. I thought I had another one for living, but it escapes me now that the cameras are rolling. So I'll try to think of that.
Sure. Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh no,
I feel like he'd be pretty good at it.
Yeah.
He's got that dry delivery. I think a big one is Michael Cera, and it sounds like he might be in Wes Anderson's next movie.
So I feel like that would fit a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Any other questions before we move on?
That was it. I think you guys want to dive into the stars. Dylan can think a little bit more while we take
I am going to think.
Sure.
Okay.
Perfect. We'll be right back with our star ratings. All right. Who wants
Anthony Hopkins? I'm just kidding.
All right.
So Dylan's going first. Oh,
I'll go first.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm giving this 4 stars. I liked it more on a second viewing. Still not quite ready to go up to like 4.5, but I would go see this again like right now. If somebody, whatever this movie's doing, it's just really in me. And this is one thing I love about Wes Anderson movies is like, once you kind of get on the vibe of it, and if you find it funny, it's going to get better every time you watch it. Because every scene, every line of dialogue has like 4 layers to it. And they're so intricately put together that with his movies, I don't even like to think about what they're quote unquote about too much. I just kind of watch them a million times and it just sort of slowly reveals itself to me. Because they're so funny and so fun to spend time in, it doesn't feel like a waste to be like, God, I got to watch this like a third time just to figure out what the hell it's about.
Yeah.
No, it's like, ooh, I get to watch this a third time, and maybe this time I'll learn a little more.
Different. And it's short.
Yeah. That too.
Interesting.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I can go next, Dylan. If you
go next, Adam.
I'm also going to give this 4 stars. I might be bumping this up depending on like when I see it again and how quickly that is. I might bump that up to a 4.5 because I walked out of this movie and just went, man, I don't really know what that was about, but it worked for me. All of it worked for me. I thought like it was super funny. The sets were great. Like it was quirky in the right ways and not like obviously it's an almost overly Wes Anderson movie, but because there's so many different actors and they all have kind of their own take, but it's all uniform. It just, everybody's interesting. Everybody is like, oh, I got 2 lines here. I got 2 lines there. And you want to know what that next line is for that actor or for that character. It took me a little while to figure out kind of what was going on, the structure we talked about. And that's still kind of the part that eludes me the most and how all of the themes from all of the different sections fit together. But the parts that I thought that it was about, I absolutely loved. So I would go back and see this immediately. So 4 stars, probably higher on rewatch.
Nice.
All right.
Dylan, what about you?
Bo Burnham. So I'm also going to give this 4 stars. For kind of different reasons, though, to kind of bounce off your point, Nate, and your point, Adam. I think that for me, this is the first Wes Anderson movie where I felt I needed to watch it again to figure out what it meant. I felt like, I don't know, like the other ones are kind of straightforward, quirky, funny dramedies, and like they're really smart. But like when I saw Grand Budapest, I was like, okay, like I got like normally when I finish them, I'm like, that was a fun ride, but I don't think about them afterwards. I didn't think back to like Isle of Dogs to really be like, what was it? I just had a good time. And with Fantastic Four, I just had a good time. With this one, I actually feel compelled, like I need to see it again to understand. Like I have a like desire, like I kind of need to. So like you said, I would see it again, or when it comes out on streaming, I'm definitely going to watch it. And specifically, not just to go on a fun ride, but to actually like understand, like, what is it about? Like connect the dots, which his family, his movies, while they give me a lot of enjoyment, don't usually give me that. So put another way, if this had just been the movie Asteroid City or the play Asteroid City, whatever, if it had just been Asteroid City straight up, this would probably be like
in color.
Yeah, this would probably be like a 3.5, bordering on a 4. But the direction he took and what he's trying to say, and the fact that it's been a few days and I am still thinking about what he meant, that bumps it to like a 4.5 range for me. So I'm going to say 4 right now, but on rewatch it could totally go up.
That's where I'm at. Like,
yeah,
I said,
definitely. I was saying just probably his most dense movie, I think.
Like with big ideas, like kind of like
and just like there are more layers to peel back, and there's just more going on thematically here that it just makes you ask a lot more questions, but like in the fun way.
Yeah. And
what is it about
layers
about that versus like so what happens?
Yeah, like we get to see like the writer, and then we get to see like a dramatized version of the writer meeting the actor, and then we get to see that actor portraying and asking the director, am I good enough? Like all these different angles, which you don't usually think about when you're just watching something, especially and it's definitely made me think, and that gives it a strong 4 for me. One of my favorite movies of the year.
Absolutely.
I've got it
getting
in my top 3
of buzz.
For sure.
It's got a ton of buzz. I was out this weekend after having seen this on Thursday. I think we went to go see it. And like every group of people I saw, I was either talking about it with, or it got brought up outside of me and being like, oh, I just saw it. It was really good. Like it's out there. It's getting a lot of getting talked about a lot.
It's funny enough that I feel like anyone's going to have a good time, even if the approach kind of throws you off and maybe you don't get it, which I'm sure a lot of people won't. I don't really get it either. the comedy is enough to like, you're gonna have a good time. Just go for the wit and the detail and the just, go for the experience.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. Anything else, or whose turn is it to put a wrap on the show?
It's mine.
All right, Nate, take it away.
You'll find a pair of safety glasses and a pair of earplugs underneath your seats. Please feel free to use them.